Hi, I'm Steph. Welcome back to my channel From Scratchee with Steph, where for the first time, I'm going to be giving you a recipe that is not my own. I'm so proud because it's my mother-in-law's recipe, and this is a simple recipe, but it is so good. When my husband's parents came for Thanksgiving, I was beyond delighted when my mother-in-law pulled out like a gallon-sized jug of her teriyaki sauce. She makes it from scratch, and it is as good or better than any restaurant I've ever tasted. And I'm from Washington State, the land of teriyaki. I'm pretty sure that teriyaki originated in Washington State and then spread out from there. I haven't looked at a map lately, and I'm also not great with history, so please don't correct me. I am so blessed to be able to call her my mother-in-law, and that is all the more reason that I'm really excited to pass on this recipe to you. The first ingredient is water, and the first thing I'm going to do with that water is get a good boil. I want to boil away any impurities, and I also want to get it nice and hot so that when I dissolve the sugar, it's gone really fast. There are 3 types of frozen juices that we're going to be using in this recipe, and I've taken them out now so that they start to soften up just a little bit. We're only using a half of a can each, so I need to be able to store these, and I don't want to thaw them completely and then refreeze them. The next ingredient that we have is ginger, and I'd like to share a little tip for you for peeling ginger. If you're like me and you didn't have a lot of experience with it until you lived in Korea, then you've probably attempted to take a vegetable peeler to one of these. That is a mistake that corporate America has coerced you into. And another thing about ginger is that it is so organic and knobbly that it can be really difficult to peel if you're trying to hold it in your hand and peel it. I don't have the Ajima knife skills. What I do is get it into a piece that can be considered flat and is safe for cutting, even for a little dum-dum like me. And then I just cut around it. And then once the ginger is completely peeled, I'm just going to take it and slice it into really thin slices. The idea here is to do really thin slices so that you can maximize the surface area of the ginger so that it gets really well infused into the sauce without having to use a ton of it. I have a legit fear that one day I'm gonna like seriously cut myself, and it's gonna be on camera, which is the only thing worse than seriously cutting yourself. My water's boiling. I'm going to take it off of the burner momentarily so I can get the sugar in. So the reason I pulled it off the burner to get that sugar put in was because I don't want the sugar to burn before I have a chance to give it a good stir, and because I'm a complete amateur, I don't measure everything out and then be able to just dump it in, because I hate doing dishes so much. So the great news is the sugar dissolved really easily because the water is super hot. It's not boiling yet again, but now's the time to put in the ginger and the onion that I didn't show you. Next to my sugar water, I'm going to add that quartered onion and ginger, and I want that to have as much time as it can to steep. Then goes in the soy sauce. It's just a little bit of soy sauce. And the frozen juices. Be careful if they're solid, you don't want to get splashed. Once everything's together, you're just going to hang around and stir it until it comes to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, you're going to turn it down to a simmer and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. After that 5 minutes is up, you can turn off the burner and then just let everything chill out and relax for at least a few hours. I really want to get as much of the onion and ginger infused in there as I can. And I also want the liquid to be completely cool before I transfer it to a plastic container. The sauce doesn't have to be stirred constantly for the sauce's sake. You just want to give it a turn every once in a while. But when I make this, I do not leave the range because you don't want it to boil over. You have to watch it really carefully. The teriyaki sauce is cooling. Once you try this sauce, you are definitely going to want to make another batch. This makes a massive amount, but you can freeze it. You can store it in the refrigerator for a pretty long time. The sauce that we made has a marinade consistency right now. Come back for the next teriyaki video where I'll show you 2 ways that you can use this amazing, delicious sauce. I definitely want to thank my mother-in-law for sharing this recipe with us. And to settle one last thing, one more item of business. Normally, now is the part where I thank you for watching and I ask that you subscribe, and if you love this recipe, share it with your friends. I would love to have you come back for more from Scratchee, but I'm not going to say that, okay? Instead, I want to ask for your help on a very important matter. When I asked my mother-in-law if I could share this recipe, as I said, she is truly one of the most generous, humble people I know. She said, sure, why not? I think most people know how to make teriyaki sauce. She is a wonderful, wonderful cook. She makes hands down the best Korean food I've ever had. So what I'd like to ask you to do is comment below. Did you know how to make teriyaki sauce? Is what she's saying right, that most people know how to make teriyaki sauce from scratch? Because I feel like that's malarkey. I think that she is having a moment of her perfect humility, that she thinks that people just know how to make teriyaki sauce. And I want to tell her, no, Oma, you know how to make teriyaki sauce. Also, if you try this recipe and it's the best teriyaki sauce you've had, please leave a comment below. We need to tell her that. Thanks so much for watching. See you next Friday.